a farmer, so I normally don't wear heels. But I wanted to impress all of you and be a professional. I have a small confession. I love food. I love eating. And I believe in my heart that the center of our lives actually revolves around food. Family dinners, telling stories, first dates, birthday cake, chocolate. Every woman in the room here just heard that. And so today I'm going to tell you a story about food, farming, and the power of social enterprise to change the world. But before I start my story, I want all of you to ask yourself a question, this one simple question, and I want you to, instead of think about what you would do, I want you to think about how you feel. And that's if tomorrow morning you wake up, how many of you in the room have children? Please raise your hands. You could not feed your children. There was not food to buy, even if there was money to buy it with. So I want you to feel that for a moment before we start our story, because that is how most of the world actually lives today. So we start our story, the scene, by looking at a map of food security. Obviously, we are going back again. Obviously, most of it is in sub-Saharan Africa. If you actually look at where we live in Kenya, we're surrounded by extreme hunger in Ethiopia and Somalia. Of all 20 countries listed on this map, 11 are currently in a conflict, and all 20 have been in conflict in the last 20 years. The most recent of which now are Congo, Yemen, Somalia. But over here in North America, it looks perfect. It's green, it's lush, everyone's happy and well-fed. But are they? Because while in sub-Saharan Africa, during the current famine and drought, the UN requested $16 billion for emergency response and food aid. While 30 to 40% of East Africa's children suffer from malnutrition, 21% suffer what's called severe acute malnutrition, which means on a daily basis, their brains suffer brain damage from a lack of calories. 1 in 6 Americans are struggling to eat. That's 48 million Americans, 17 million of which are children. That number since 2007 has increased 12 million, and that's 2.5 years before this economic recession started. The food insecure in your country costs you $167 billion a year, and I can't help but wonder where that money could be spent. Hunger is such a fact of life now in your culture that Sesame Street 2 days ago launched a new character called Lily. And Lily and her family don't have enough food to eat on a daily basis. So we meet our first character, the smallholder farmer. Her name is Mary. She's a 37-year-old single mother. She lives in a part of Kenya called Mukuyu. She owns 2 to 5 acres of land. She's producing about 20% of what her soil could produce, and of what she's producing, she's losing 60% of that in the same land where she's growing her food, because she doesn't have a market to sell it in. She's not subsistence. She's not growing food around a hut. She doesn't have flies in her eyes. She is a farmer. She earns her primary economic income from farming. She produces for both local, regional, and export markets. Mukuyu has papaya and cantaloupe and watermelon and spinach and avocados. It is one of the most fertile areas of Kenya. Mary is one of 80 to 100 million smallholder farmers in East and Sub-Saharan Africa. 80% of the food grown in this region is grown by women just like Mary. I believe, and many believe, they are the largest untapped economic resource, not only in Africa, but the world. So what does Mary need? If she's such an amazing resource, economic resource, what's really the challenge? She needs access to agriculture technology, to training, and finance. Yes, I've included water, but when it comes to that in a second, because water you can access and learn to manage better with training. This video is going to demonstrate for you guys exactly where, this is not exactly where Mary lives, but this is the Kerio Valley. The Kerio Valley is where more than 1 million smallholder farmers just like Mary live. And this was also the center of the elections violence in 2007. We don't live on vast estates. These guys live on 2 to 5 acres of land. They're neighbors with each other. They know exactly where they are. And I demonstrate this with you with little houses in a minute, because it's very easy for us as a business to access these people. So we have a new chapter. Rachel. About 5 years ago, I was standing on a runway in southern Sudan. I was watching a plane loaded with food aid, what's called drop ship. So the plane doesn't actually land, it just sort of hits the dirt and drop loads out of the back. 50 to 90 pound bags of dried beans and maize, corn. This is food aid. And out of the dust, I saw hundreds of women, most carrying children strapped to their backs, coming to pick up these bags and then wander back into the bush, upwards of 40 miles, and every day or two to be able to have enough food to keep their families alive. What I'd like you guys to learn about the first thing is that only 2% of all international food aid in the last 7 years has had a nutritional requirement, which means we are giving people food that they either don't recognize and don't want to eat, but more importantly, keeps them alive but doesn't nourish them. It's not real food. And so I got angry. I couldn't help but wonder, if we can give people and we can spend millions of dollars in 1 week on shipments to one runway to drop ship food, why can't we teach people to farm? And so that is when the Backpack Farm was born in Nairobi, Kenya, with a small group of companies that are partners. This is our backpack. It is designed to support 32 different crops. The packs are modular, so they support a quarter, a half, or a 1 acre planting. We have seeds, we have training, we have all sorts of amazing stuff that actually fits inside of this backpack. And like every good story, I think you need to have a little magic. And we have 2 pieces of magic in our backpack. Not just that it's actually portable, and that everything has been sized and packaged specifically for a farmer, but it's the technology we use. We are providing farmers access to some of the best biological and botanical organic farming inputs in the world. We just package them really, really tiny. And second is drip irrigation. Drip irrigation is truly magic. These small little plastic lines can double, if not triple, the yield of what a farmer produces in their first harvest. An acre of irrigation costs less than $500. What does a shipment of food aid cost us? More than 1.2 million. How many drip irrigation kits does that buy for an entire community? More importantly, it helps farmers to manage their water resources. So the Backpack Farm Agriculture Program. We're a for-profit, we make money, social enterprise. We are a registered limited liability company in Nairobi, Kenya. Last year, 2 different agencies from the UN named us one of the world's top 30 green social enterprises, eco-friendly. Why for-profit? A lot of people ask me this question. First of all, I don't believe aid is sustainable. Aid also makes me angry. I have worked in the aid world. More importantly, it's because I believe that farmers like Mary have worth. She is poor, and she's one of the most amazing women that I've gotten to work with in my life because she doesn't see that. She gets up every day and she feeds her children and she farms and she's happy. She has worth as a human being. So our company sees the worth in her. We are committed to multifunctional farming. And what that means is, obviously the goal of farming is to grow food. We commit to growing nutritionally dense food while impacting social, economic, and ecological domains. You don't have to have one, you can have all 4 in the same package. Our ideological pillars, this is not only what we offer, it is what we expect of every farmer and every organization that we work with. Desirability, commitment, and determination. Because farming is hard work. There is no simple answer to hunger. We're busy doing. In 2011, we launched new partnerships, new access to finance for our farmers, and soil testing services that were affordable. We don't make any money from those partnerships. We maintain our existing partnerships with companies like Sandstorm Kenya, who design our bag out of recycled products, and who are actually a premium luggage company. And they donated the design of our backpack. We launched We have 12 training farms now in Kenya, which is where we distribute and train farmers on Backpack Farm. We launched Kuza Doctor. Kuza is Swahili for growing. It's one of the first mobile applications available to smallholder farmers in Kenya to provide them technical support for 10 different crops in both English and Swahili. Our 2012 expansion. We hope by January or February, before the next long rains, to have 20 complete training farms. Expand into Uganda and Tanzania. And expand, I'm proud to announce our mobile platform, going from an SMS tool into a mobile platform within Mobia from Denmark. Physically, we will at minimum physically touch and train 150,000 smallholder farmers in Kenya alone, and we'll reach more than 250,000 with mobile support. I want to talk about our training farms for a second, because that's really the heart of what we do at Backpack Farm. We're a funny little farming company that trains. This is one of our farms in Eldoret. This is Hunter Tanous, who's a fellow who's just arrived in Kenya to work with us and is going to stay on board. This is Jeffrey, our trainer, and this is Amrit Mataru, who's our local director. This is how simple our training farms are. They are exactly 1 acre or less. They mirror exactly what a smallholder farmer has available to them to plant. They plant 4 to 6 different crops. 2 of those crops must be indigenous, which means local crops. They must plant either a local kale, a sukuma wiki, spinach of some kind because of its nutritional value in A, D, zinc, and iron, as well as a local bean for its carbohydrate value. Kunde will baseline the insulin levels of a malnourished child in 3 days. It is indigenous to Kenya. Corn is not. It will give a farmer 600 to 800 times more economic return. And it gets harvested in 10 weeks. And corn gets harvested in 4 to 6 months. So this farm has 1 crop on this end. On this end, you can actually see what's planted now is bird's eye red chilies and passion fruit, because we also do plant high-end economic crops. Because if a farmer wants to earn even more money, they can. And Coca-Cola has just launched a value chain project mobilizing 45,000 farmers to grow passion fruit for juicing. So now we have a new chapter, and that's America, and America's family farmer. It's been a pleasure to arrive here in California, and when I flew into Sacramento, I actually flew over a farm. There are more than 1.7 million American family farmers have been forced off their land in the last 25 years, which is shocking considering that 40% of the produce that you buy in your markets comes from other countries. There are more Americans in prison than there are farming in this country, and I don't understand that. More rural Americans are on food stamps than the city folk, having watched America's breadbasket transformed into an industrial workhorse. America's family farmer struggles to earn 20 cents on every dollar they invest in their farm. This is not the picture that Norman Rockwell painted for us. This is our newest character, the Yang family. They emigrated a Hmong family in 1990. They were farmers from their own country. They came here to start a farm and to raise their children. This is the American dream, to farm and feed your children and raise your children. They own a 12-acre organic farm here in Fresno. They specialize in Asian vegetables and fresh herbs. The first 2 farms failed because of limited market, bad soil, and water shortages. So without the capital, finance, or the tools to effectively plan, plant, and harvest, everything was also being done by hand. In 2003, the farm did start to transform itself because it got assistance from a local nonprofit working with family farmers. The Yang family here in Fresno and Mary in Kenya faced the same challenges: access to affordable technologies, finance, training, equitable markets, and yes, water. It's the same story in a different country. So what we really need to invest in, what I believe is not only in Kenya, but also in America, is starting with soil testing. And that's technical, only because what do you put in your soil before you know what's already in it, as far as agricultural inputs? We need national training and youth campaigns. I've been in this country less than a week, and all I've heard about is unemployment, jobs, youth, the future. There is honor in farming. Collaborative finance, the public-private sector. The public, the private, government, and nonprofit need to start spending more time talking to each other. We need to develop new markets. It's okay to import food. It'd just be great to know where it's coming from and that farmers are being paid an ethical price for it. Practical research. Research is power. You can't do anything without knowledge. And mobile technologies. I want to build a link between farming in America and farming in Africa. We have so much to learn from each other, and we don't have as much time as you may think. Like every good story, they come to an end. There is no real fast food answer to hunger. There's no real magical Shazam, and we're going to fix everything overnight. Farming is hard work. We're committed to that at Backpack Farm. I will say this in closing, this social enterprise has been the best and worst decision of my life. I have learned, I have witnessed, and I have lost more in the last 4 years than I learned in the rest of my life combined. And so I challenge you guys today to learn more about farming. Smallholder farming is the future to feeding the world. It can be green, it can be sustainable, it can be scalable, and financially viable. I can't necessarily say that we're going to have a happy ending for everyone in our story, but I do believe in the future and the power of farming and food. And so I'd like to leave you with these few words that resonate with me, and I try to remind myself of them. When you feed an empty stomach, you open a mind and heart to endless possibility. My father. Thank you.